Hi, my name is Christine Byrne, and I've chosen to do prompt 2 for exam video 1. The show I've chosen is Wizards of Waverly Place, and the trait in question is magical powers, represented in green. So after some research about the lineage of the Russo family, here's a pedigree I've been able to create. So beginning in Generation 3 with the main characters, there's Justin, who's the older brother of Alex, who's the older sister of Max. All three siblings express powers. Their parents are Jerry, a former wizard, and Teresa, a mortal. Note here that Jerry was a wizard but gave up his powers to marry Teresa, so for the sake of this pedigree, we'll consider him to have the trait. On Teresa's side of the family, we don't know much other than that they are mortals and will not be expressing the trait. We do know that she has two brothers, one named Ernesto and one Genevieve, a mom named Magdalena, but the father is unknown. On Jerry's side of the family, he has two siblings named Megan and Kelbo, and their parents are Hank and Rose. All of them express the trait. Megan does not have kids, but Kelbo has three sons named Trevor, Graham, and Kim, all of which have powers. We do not know much about their mom, but we'll assume, based on the context of the show, that she does not have powers. In order to better understand the inheritance pattern here, let's walk through some possibilities. X-linked inheritance refers to the expression of a gene that is located on the X chromosome. If inheritance is dominant, that means only one inherited copy of the dominant allele is necessary for the expression of that trait. So because females have two X chromosomes, it only takes one X having the specific allele in order for that female to show the trait. Because males only have one X chromosome, they must inherit the dominant allele for trait expression. On the other hand, if inheritance is recessive, the presence of any of the dominant allele prevents trait expression. For females in this instance, they must inherit two recessive alleles, one for each X chromosome, while males must inherit one recessive allele for their one X chromosome in order for trait expression. Another inheritance pattern is autosomal, which does not deal with the sex chromosomes. Autosomal dominant inheritance means that, regardless of the sex of the individual, in order for a trait to be expressed, a person must inherit at least one copy of the dominant allele. Autosomal recessive inheritance means that the trait will only be expressed if no dominant allele is present in an individual, again regardless of sex. The last type of inheritance we're looking at is Y-linked inheritance, which means only individuals with an affected Y chromosome will express a trait. In other words, only males are affected and will pass down an affected Y chromosome to any of their male offspring. So here's our pedigree in terms of autosomal dominant inheritance. We see that it checks out, and here are the genotypes. Here's our pedigree in terms of autosomal recessive inheritance. We see that it continues to work out. The only thing that's different is the genotype possibilities for Ernesto and Genevieve. For X-linked dominant, we see pretty quickly that this type of inheritance will not work because in Generation 3, these individuals would need to have the recessive allele but cannot inherit that from their mom. This is the X-linked recessive inheritance, and we see that it checks out, and here's all the genotypes. And lastly, we know that Y-linked inheritance will not work because there are females who don't have a Y chromosome that are affected.